welcome. I'll take you through a sequence that uses the wall to assist us into some fairly deep and juicy stretches. So you will for sure want to have a folded up blanket with you. And if you happen to have some yoga blocks, those might come in handy. If not, we'll make do without. So we're going to begin standing and just do a little wall downward dog. So come on up and we'll take our feet fairly wide, so nice and wide, much wider than hip width apart. And you'll have to judge how far away from the wall you want to be. I'm about a meter, about 3 feet away from the wall here. I'm going to place my hands really spread out, slightly above shoulder height, and make sure that my hands are shoulder width apart. Now I'm going to walk my feet back a little bit here in order to allow my chest to start to sink and soften down. So I'm really pressing with my hands into the wall, really actively pressing into the wall with my hands. And then with some big, deep breaths, allowing my chest to sink down. So big opening here for the shoulders and chest. You can let your head hang if that feels all right on your neck, or keep your ears kind of in line with your arm bones. And let's just hang out for a few rounds of nice, deep breath. Again, keep pressing your hands pretty actively into the wall. Breathing fully into rib cage and belly and letting your chest sink with your exhales. Last round of breath. And then slowly roll up through your spine. So take your time coming out of that. You can step your feet a little closer here. Shake out your arms and your shoulders, wiggle them out a little bit if you need to, whatever wiggles feel good for you. And then one more here with standing. We're going to take our forearms to the wall. Check that your elbows are just as wide as your shoulders. You don't want them really wide. You want to have them kind of hugged in. So outsides of your elbows are as wide as the outsides of your shoulders. And then just let your palms touch together into a prayer. Same idea here. Feet nice and wide. Walk back enough that you can allow your chest to start to sink. Maybe your forehead can kind of rest on the wall, or your head can hang down. And again, all we're doing here is just taking some big, deep, juicy inhales and exhales, letting your chest sink down towards the ground. Nice big opening here for shoulders and chest. Again, just a slightly different angle. Deep breathing. Take a couple more rounds of your breath. However long that you want to stay here, you're welcome to. If you start to get any sort of tingling or pinching feeling in your shoulders or out in your fingertips, and that's a sign to come on out of that. So when you're done, just slowly roll yourself back up. Another little shimmy shake to release out your shoulders. And then let's come on down to our seat. You may want to sit on your folded up blanket here, or a yoga block if you have one. And let's sit so that we are about 1.5 to 2 feet away from the wall. And again, it's going to really depend on your arm length, your body, your proportions. So just sitting cross-legged. We're not going to do anything fancy with the legs, but we're going to use the wall to assist us in a really nice spinal twist, a seated spinal twist. So start with a tall spine, and then we'll take our left hand to the outside of the right thigh. Bend your right arm so you've got sort of like a bookend or cactus arm. Elbow is about as high as your shoulder. And then rotate around towards the wall so that your hand finds the wall. This is where you may need to adjust. If you feel like you're way too close to the wall, then scooch a little bit further away. You do want to make sure that you can maintain a really nice, tall, and neutral spine here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk my hand a little bit further behind me on the wall, and then really hug my right shoulder back. So I'm gathering my right shoulder back and softly rotating, spiraling around into this nice deep twist. So let's find the breath here. Steady, deep inhale, full, sweet exhale. Keep hugging that right shoulder back. Keep lengthening tall through your spine. And again, you can stay here for as long as feels good. I would suggest, at least 5 slow cycles of breath. Maybe more, maybe up to about 10 breaths. You can count those breaths for yourself. And then let's slowly release and come on back through center. We're going to switch to the other side. If you need to do, again, any little wiggles to release in the middle, then do so. So going to the other side, I'm going to take my right hand to the outside of my left thigh. Take that bookend arm. Elbow is about the same height as my shoulder. Reach all the way around towards the wall behind you with that left hand. And use it as an anchor point to assist you in this twist. So here I go again. I'm going to walk my left hand a little bit further back behind me. Start to find that deep, deep breath. And then I'm hugging my left shoulder back. Really clearly gathering my left shoulder blade back. So I'm trying to snuggle my left shoulder blade a little closer to my spine on that left side of my rib cage. Tall spine. So inhale, you can feel it. Inhale, lengthen up to the crown of your head. And exhale is a nice assistant breath in this rotation in the spiral. So inhale, lengthen, and exhale, spiral. Again, at least 5 slow rounds of breath in your twist, possibly more, maybe 8 to 10 rounds of breath. And then let's release and come on back through center. Shrug your shoulders, round your spine, anything that feels good there to help integrate those twists into your body. All right, now we're going to dive into the really deep and juicy business here. So let's take this folded up blanket and get it right up. So I'm going to take the folded edge here and put it right up against the wall. And that's going to be some cushioning and protection for my knees. If you have yoga blocks, you can take them just kind of out in front of you. If you don't have them, again, we'll make do without. So we're coming into a pretty deep quadriceps and hip flexor stretch using the wall. So from hands and knees, get yourself walked right back against the wall. We'll take our right knee, our right shin, and place it back against the wall. So my knee is coming right down on top of that nice cushioning, that blanket, and my shin is going straight up the wall. Now options here, if this is already like getting intense, then all you might want to do is just take that opposite knee, the knee that's still on the ground, just bring it a little bit further forwards and rest on your hands. So your hips are nice and square. And if that's enough of a stretch, stick with that, right? We're not trying to break ourselves with any of this. We want to challenge ourselves, but not blast past our edges, past where your body is ready and willing to go. So if you want to go further here, I'm going to use my blocks, but you don't have to. Remember, you can just keep your hands on the ground. Take that left foot and kind of wiggle it forwards and out to the side. And then just heel toe your foot in between your hands. So you've got your left ankle underneath your left knee, and your foot is in between your hands. So you can see here where the blocks would come in handy, or just fingertips onto the ground. Now this deep stretching requires deep breathing. So dive right into the fullest, calmest breath that you can find. Especially if this is a challenging stretch for you, if you're really feeling this a lot in those quadriceps and hip flexors. So deep inhales to really feed your muscles fresh oxygen, fresh energy. Deep exhales to clear out carbon dioxide, to clear out anything that is being released from the stretch. Now, please stick with wherever is suitable for you. So if this is enough and you're just needing to hang out with this and breathe, then don't go any further. You can just stay where you are. If you do want to add on here, we can start to lift our chest up and walk our hands up on top of that left thigh. So as you bring your body more upright, it's going to increase the stretch on that right quadricep hip flexor area. Keep your shoulders relaxed, you're breathing nice and deep. And the key when we come into these deep stretches is, well, a couple things. One thing is to allow ourselves to hang out here for some time so that our body actually has a chance to settle into the stretch and actually start to lengthen muscle fibers, connective tissue, fascia. If we hurry in and out of the stretch, we don't actually get a whole lot out of it. So we need to hang out and really marinate in the stretch for time. The other key is to keep breathing calm and keep our body relaxed where we can. So not gripping and tightening against the sensation, but doing our best to softly drop right into the depths of that sensation. Belly breaths. Now last thing here, if you want, you can take your hands back to the wall. So palms are touching the wall, and I'm going to take my right butt cheek and press it back towards my right heel. Again, if you're starting to get into the red zone, back off. You don't have to push yourself any more than your body is willing to go. Find your edge and breathe with your edge. So if you are moving deeper here, then we'll pause for a few more breaths. Again, just to really sink into this stretch. Keep your jaw relaxed, your face calm. And then let's slowly release. So come out of this mindfully. First, shift your hips forwards, release your hands to the ground or to your blocks. And then heel toe that left foot kind of out to the side again and release your left shin to the floor. And now take that right knee and that right shin away from the wall. In between sides is a good time to do any bits of movement that feel good, that your body is calling for. So maybe you just want to take a child's pose as a way to, again, integrate that stretch, to give yourself a little breather, a little break in between sides. All right, let's go to our other leg here. So left knee, left shin goes up the wall. Make sure your knee is really cushioned on your folded up blanket. So I'll just walk you through those steps again. First step is just to keep that front shin, front knee on the ground. Maybe just walk it a little bit further forwards towards your hands and then hang out there. Let your hips be heavy away from the wall. Relax and breathe. Okay, adding on if you're wanting to. Right foot can wiggle out to the side and forwards, and then heel toe in between your hands. Again, I'm just checking my ankles, kind of stacked underneath my knee here. And I'm allowing my hips to sink away from the wall. You can lean yourself over that front thigh and even let your head hang if you'd like. And then find your breath. Focus on your breath to help you move through this intense stretch, if this is feeling intense for you. Keep diving into that deep and steady breathing. So it's a very focused, meditative practice here, coming into these deeper, longer held stretches. It requires a lot of focus. It's an opportunity to check in with ourselves and notice what happens, notice what our response is to challenging sensation. Sometimes different emotions can arise, different feelings like frustration or agitation or anger. If you're feeling really angry at this stretch, that's pretty normal. So just pay attention to whatever you're feeling. You don't have to do anything about it, but just pay attention. Notice, and then keep breathing those deep, deep breaths. Now, if you are adding on here, you want to come on up, bringing your hands onto the top of your front thigh, and then lifting slowly your chest upright. You can. Easy shoulders. And I'm feeling a little wobbly, so I'm going to heel toe my front foot a little bit further out to the side, so I just have a bit of a wider base. So if you're feeling wobbly, you can check that in as well. Keeping jaw relaxed, forehead smooth, breathing deep on the inhale and on the exhale. So letting ourselves marinate again, and when things get a little intense, our usual response is get out of there. Here we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to investigate and settle in and allow for this sensation to shift and change. Last addition, if you wanted it, hands can reach back to the wall, kind of out by your sides, and then very slowly press your left butt cheek back towards your left heel. And that may shift more of the stretch into your quadriceps, getting it deeper into the front of your thigh. Hang out there, breathe deep. Stay present. Stick with it. And then as you feel ready, slowly come out of this. So make sure that you really take your time coming out of these deep stretches very mindfully. So I'm going to take that front foot and wiggle it out to the side, release shin to the ground, and then release that back leg away from the wall. And give yourself a moment. Maybe you want to take a few cat and cows or some sort of circles of your hips or shoulders, child's pose, anything else that feels good and natural that your body's asking for in between, and getting into that, again, integration of that stretch. Do it now. And then when you're ready, we're going to come on down onto our backs. Move some stuff out of the way. And you probably won't need your blanket now. So let's set up so that we have our hips. Let's start with our hips about a foot away from the wall, or a foot and a half away from the wall, and then you can adjust depending on the openness of your hips. So if your hips are fairly flexible, then you may want to be closer to the wall, and if your hips are really tight, you may have to scoot yourself away from the wall a little bit. So I'm going to place my feet flat on the wall here. I'm starting with my knees kind of stacked over top of my hips. And I want to make sure that my feet are nice and hip width apart. Both sides of the pelvis are heavy and equal on the ground. I'm going to pick up my right foot first. Make sure I'm flexing the toes back towards the shin. It helps to stabilize the knee joint. And then I'm crossing my ankle over left thigh. So this is like a pigeon stretch or a thread the needle stretch, but we're just using the wall to help us out. So for me, I would actually want to be a little closer to the wall so that I'm getting a deeper stretch. So if you cross that ankle over here and your hips pop off the floor and you can't get that ankle across, that's a sign you need to scooch a little bit further away. And if you're feeling like you're not quite getting a deep enough stretch, then that would be where you would want to scooch a little closer here. All right, so again, we're just going to marinate. Let yourself soak deep into this stretch. Please check that both sides of your pelvis are still equal on the ground, that your hips aren't lifting off the floor. And as much as you can really allow yourself to relax any muscular effort here. So you're just getting really soft, letting that support of the wall help you in this stretch. You can rest your hands on your belly if you'd like, to help you feel that nice, slow rise and fall of your breathing, or if there's some other arm variation that feels good for you, then absolutely check that in as well. So at least 5, at the very, very bare minimum, 5 slow rounds of breath. 10 to 15 rounds of breath if you've got the time. And then from here, we're going to take this same setup, the same sort of unit of our legs, and take it over towards the left. So I'm going to take that left foot and kind of slide it down the wall. I'm keeping my ankle crossed over that left thigh. Left foot's going to come all the way down to the ground, but my foot is still pressing onto the wall. And my right foot is also planting onto the ground here. Now opening up my right arm towards the right side, like a nice twist, and your left hand could help to hold on to your underneath knee or thigh or that right ankle, if that would help just sort of anchor the legs there. And then let your right hip, that's your top hip, drop back down towards the ground. So this stretch will probably shift more into your outer glute muscles, your outer hip muscles. Can be kind of intense. It's a bit of a juicy one here. So again, find those deep breaths. Now just some options you can play around with. You could take your left hand, if you want, to your inner right thigh, and not with a big forceful press, just with a nice mindful, kind of soft, guiding press. You can gently open up that right knee, kind of softly pressing right knee towards the wall. And that might shift where you feel the stretch a little bit. Keep yourself soft and easy wherever you can. Soft shoulders, soft jaw, relaxed head, relaxed neck. Let your belly stay relaxed so your breathing can be full and deep. And again, you can keep checking in, keep noticing anything that you are feeling, any emotions that bubble up to the surface, any responses or reactions to these longer held and sometimes more intense stretches or sensations. Let's give ourselves one more really big breath. Maybe a big sigh to complete, and then mindfully come on back up through center. Release your right ankle from your left thigh. Shake out that right leg a little bit. And then we're going to switch it up. So right foot plants to the wall. Flex your left toes back towards your left shin. And now cross left ankle over top of right thigh. Again, adjust closer to the wall for deeper stretch. Further away from the wall if you are having a hard time getting that ankle crossed over your thigh, or if you're having a hard time keeping the back of your pelvis heavy on the ground. Sinking in to this stretch on this side. Doing your best not to rush your breathing. Letting your body slow down and sink deep into this stretch. So you don't have to rush. At least 5 rounds of breath, maybe 10 or 15 rounds of breath. If you want to count your breath, it's a nice way of keeping your mind occupied, of keeping your mind with something to focus on. So counting your breath, each cycle of breath can be like a meditative tool to help you stay present here as we hang out in stillness, just breathing. And then when you're finished, however long, however many rounds of breath you want to take on this side, let's take that whole unit of our legs over towards the right. So my right foot's sliding down the wall all the way down until my right leg finds the floor, and my left foot is dropping flat onto the ground. Right hand can hold on to my left ankle or my right knee just to again help anchor the legs, or just rest on the ground. Left arm can open out to the left side just the way you would in a twist. And then you're letting that left hip again drop down and away from your waist. So letting your left hip be heavy back down towards the ground. So options again, if you wanted to use your right hand to kind of press into that inner left thigh here, you can take just this really soft, mindful, sort of like guiding your left knee open and away from your body, guiding your left knee open and back towards the wall. So you can check that in for a couple breaths, let it go for a couple breaths, just sort of play around and feel what works best for you and what different sensations you find, different edges of your stretch that you find. Keep watching, noticing, feeling, staying calm and staying present. And then one more deep, deep inhale, sighing. Exhale. Let's unwind ourselves from that shape. Release your left leg, give it a little shake out. And then just roll over onto one side. Lift yourself up. And all we're going to do here is scooch our hips right up against the wall. So we want to get the outside of your hip right up against the wall, and then we're going to lie down and swing our legs up the wall at the same time. So what we're trying to do here is get our sitting bones right back against the wall. Once you've got your bum right against the wall here, we're going to relax our thighs, ankles, feet, calves, and then allow your legs to start to slide open. So we're going to use the wall to assist us in an inner thigh, inner groin stretch, like a straddle, but using the wall. So let your legs just fall open as far as they want to. Completely let go of muscular effort here and just let gravity do the work for you. Deep, deep breathing. Maybe as you settle in here, you'll notice your legs start to kind of slip and slide down the wall a little bit more. I'm going to try not to squish my plant here. So you do want to be at a wall where you've got enough space on either side in order to allow your legs to open. This is a really nice way to passively lengthen those adductors, your inner thighs, those connections to your inner pelvis, the groin. Great straddle stretch that doesn't require a whole lot of physical effort. You can just sink and settle in, let gravity do the work for you, and all you need to do is breathe. So again, let's take at least 5, and again, I say 5 is like maybe you don't have a lot of time to do these stretches, but it's kind of not quite enough, 5 rounds of breath. I'd say 10 to 15 breaths at least to really settle in and let your body slowly open. Muscle fibers, connective tissue, and fascia fibers starting to very slowly lengthen and release. So give this as much time as you can with those nice deep breaths. And when you're done, you may want to use your hands on the outsides of your thighs to help bring your legs back up to neutral. All right, so last thing we'll do here is just rest with our legs up the wall. This is an incredibly restorative and healing inversion. So inversion meaning our legs are higher than the level of our hips and our heart. Another option, if any of you wanted, is you could take this folded up blanket now and just slide it underneath your hips, underneath your pelvis, just to bring a little more lift to the pelvis and increase that slight little bit of inversion here. Arms can rest wherever feels comfortable, wherever feels natural. Close your eyes and just rest. Legs up the wall is a very powerful and healing tool to use at the end of a long day, or if you've been feeling a bit burnt out or too busy, or you've been on your feet a lot. It's very balancing for your nervous system, your circulatory system. So at least a minute or two, if you can, maybe 5 minutes, just to be still here, letting your legs rest up the wall. Focusing in on your breath. Again, maybe counting your breaths as a way to keep your mind focused on the moment instead of thinking about to-do lists or what's next. Just letting yourself be still and quiet, physically and mentally. And let's finish up here. So take a deep breath in through the nose. Nice big sighing breath out through the mouth. Now just let your knees bend so your feet kind of slide down the wall. It can feel really nice here to squeeze and hug your knees in towards your chest. And then let's roll over to one side and use our hands to help us come up off of the ground. And that is the end of our wall series for now. So namaste, thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.